Hello, Tesla Nation. You're watching The Tesla Life with your host, Mark Coughlin. I can't hear you, Mark. Nobody can hear you. Nobody. You don't have the little golden line around you, which means we can't hear you. Hello and welcome to the Tesla Life. As soon as Mark gets his technical issues figured out, we'll be able to hear from you.
He was talking before the show, so this is weird.
There we go.
Oh, there he is.
Now we got you. You're on now, Mark.
Okay.
Take her away.
That's weird. Welcome to the Tesla Life number 294. Here we are on the 15th of February, 2023. Welcome to the show, everybody. I have no idea why my audio disappeared for about 25 seconds. That was kind of weird. But okay, I'll roll with it. As always, we have my two co-hosts. Mr. Patrick Connor joins us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
Hello, I'm good. Hey, everybody. It's I hope you all had a good Valentine's Day. It's nice and sunny here, cranking out the kilowatts. Come to you solar powered.
Excellent. Also joining us as per usual, Mr. Casey Green from some undisclosed location on the East Coast side. How are you today, sir?
Prepping for another location.
Always on the move. Can't pin him down.
Well, when you're in the witness protection program, you can't stay in one place too long, can you, Casey?
You also can't do YouTube podcasts.
Well, he's doing it. That's he's doing it. He's breaking all the rules. Well, we got a ton of news this week, as is not surprising to anyone that's followed this podcast. Wanted to start off with some good news for StarLink. Actually, a couple notes on it. First of all, they started to provide a service to Brazil, certainly a large company in South America, as well as some other South American countries are now open to this. So it's they're starting to provide that service. It's going to be it's kind of interesting. I haven't heard a lot about South America, but obviously with North America being covered with the three countries, it makes sense now that that South America is going to be available because, of course, on the other side of the world, Australia has had it for some time. So the constellation is covering South America now, and they're getting some countries to join in. So very good there. Other information on StarLink was that Gwen Stockwell from SpaceX, she had mentioned that she believes that Starlink could be profitable in 2023. Right. So they had their first positive quarter recently, and she believes that they could make a profit this year. And she was quick to add, "No, I don't know when an IPO could possibly happen."
She read my mind because that's exactly what I was thinking. Is when is it going to IPO? I want to invest.
Exactly. So that's great news for Starlink. I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine the amount of money that's been spent to get that service running. Luckily, Elon Musk owned a rocket company already. I don't think anyone else could afford to get something like this off the ground, literally. And get a constellation of thousands of satellites in space.
There is Jeff Hu, but he's kind of slow at it.
Yeah, Jeff's not playing the game very well at this point. So,
well, didn't he just get his approvals?
He got his approval.
I don't know that he's actually launching, but he got approvals.
A few thousand satellites, and Jeff is definitely behind the eight ball when it comes to getting a service up and running. SpaceX is just collecting fees from everybody left and right. Cruise ships, airplanes, militaries, civilian populations, countries. It's a huge success. And
did Jeff Hu get those engines out?
I'm sorry?
Did Jeff Hu get those engines out that people were asking, where are my engines? Where are my engines? Did he get them out?
No.
No.
Well,
Jeff's got many things.
You got to satisfy your customers before you do an internal project.
Jeff's got many irons in the fire. Absolutely. Yeah. So Very good.
Can we call him Dollar Store Elon Musk?
Well, next story brings us up to Oregon. And Patrick, of course, is our man in Oregon, so he probably knows what this is about.
That's right. So this has been getting a lot of attention recently, and there's several stories, but this one's from TeslaRati, and it's titled Tesla Model 3 can be acquired for less than $27,000 in Oregon. And we can go through the math, but it's a little specious here. Okay, so here's the premise that they're laying out. The starting price for the rear-wheel drive Model 3 is $43,490 before incentives. And the rear-wheel drive is great bang for the buck, all electric, ample range, great power. So now you start stacking the incentives on top of that. $7,500 federal, $2,500 from the state of Oregon. Plus, if you are low or moderate income resident of the state, you can get an additional $5,000. And the way that the state incentives are written, a certain percentage of the money that's allocated for this program has to go to moderate and low income residents. Well, over the 2 years, I think it's been running, they have not been meeting that threshold. So it was $2,500 for anybody, and then an additional $2,500 for moderate income. But since the moderate income portion hasn't been getting as much use, they upped it to $5,000. So right now, that's a pretty good deal if you qualify. And then additionally, some of the utilities are offering incentives up to $1,500. So if you stack all those together, that's $16,500 in discounts that you can get, which then brings the price down to $26,990, which gets you under the $27,000 that the title of this article said. Now, the reason that I said it's specious is that you really have to get the stars to align just right to be able to qualify for all of those incentives.
Yeah.
Specifically, the way that the federal $7,500 works is it only applies to taxes that you owe in that year. There's no carry forward. And if you only owe $5,000, then you can only get $5,000 off of the taxes you owe. So if you're qualifying for the lower moderate income incentive in Oregon, you're not likely to have $7,500 in federal taxes you owe. I don't know what the Venn diagram looks like, if there's any overlap at all. Maybe there's a little bit, if depending on where your income comes from and how taxable it is, and it could be possible. I'm not a tax professional. Consult your own before you make any action based on what you've heard here. But anyway, it was an interesting story, and I'm all for making EVs more accessible to more people, and incentives really help with that. Having income, lower income, additional incentives, I think is a great program. So I'm not trying to knock any of that. But anyway, so there you go. Nobody said there wouldn't be math on this one. There was some math. I'm sorry.
But you answered my first question about like how many people would qualify for the full liability and moderate income. The next thing is I'm not sure where they have what they consider to be moderate. Would that be a case where if you're looking to try and do this, that you should probably be buying the car in cash? Or if you are somebody who makes payments, that this wouldn't be too much of the Tesla stretch? Or is this not a realistic vehicle for that program? I mean, not that there are that many low-cost EVs out there.
Right. So the limit is $50K to qualify for any of the state incentives, which lines up well with the federal incentives that under the new program. The way they determine moderate
price of the car, not income. Okay.
Oh, right.
Okay, I was about to say, if you spend your yearly income on a car, that's not good.
Oh, yeah. So the way they determine moderate income, I think, is 4 times the federal poverty level. And again, I'm not a tax consultant. And that changes every year based on what publications come out. So you'd have to check that to see if you qualify.
Okay.
Hey, JT.
Very good. Yeah, that's, again, it has to line up perfectly in that particular instance, but certainly check with your local utilities with whatever state or province you're in, because some of them are offering a discount that is not very publicized. So make sure you do check that if you're going to be purchasing a vehicle, to see if one of those is available to you. I know a number of states are offering them in provinces, so it's something that you should look into. They don't advertise them well, and do your due diligence if you're planning on purchasing a vehicle.
Well,
yes, absolutely. Look for incentives. Yeah,
that's right. One, they don't want electric cars to succeed. Two, they're hoping that if you don't take the money, that they can use it for something else.
Which is weird, because if all the cars are electric, do they not make more money because they're selling more electricity?
Oh, the utilities, absolutely.
Yeah. But politicians might want to put it somewhere else, and the oil people definitely don't want us to. The coal people.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Exxon discount recently. Where you go to fill up, and they say, buy an electric vehicle, we'll give you $1,000 back. I haven't seen that one yet.
Right, but definitely check with your state's Department of Energy if you're in the U.S. Check with your local utilities, absolutely. If you have a Department of Environmental Quality, a DEQ, that's who's running the program here in Oregon, is DEQ. So yeah, check with all of those. Look for incentives. Plug-in America has a good list, and it's not always up to date, but it'll at least give you some hints on where to look.
Excellent PSA. Very good. Very good. Next, Casey's got a story, an update, as to Autopilot. Or as it is, maybe not Autopilot.
Allegedly. So this one is quite an old story. So I'm just going to flash this picture so you guys can remember what we're talking about here. There was a pair of older gentlemen. I'm not saying that they're old. They're just older than me. One was 59 and the other was 69. And they had not gotten far from one of the guys' homes in Texas. And they got to an incredible rate of speed, struck a tree in a manhole cover or a curb, or one of the two, which then caused the car to ignite. And some constable who was out of his jurisdiction stopped by and was running his mouth to the media and said, oh, yeah, it must have been the Autopilot. They heard him talking about it at the party and on the camera. And then we never heard from that guy again. However, that didn't stop everybody from running with it from there. And the NTSB and Tesla found a nearly identically equipped car, but at least identical as far as the Autopilot system and software version. Ran it through the area, tried to get it to do anything, and all it could do would be to turn on the cruise control, and the cruise control was limited to 30 miles an hour. So then NTSB continues what they do, which is crash investigation and reconstruction and all of that. They determined that the two gentlemen were in the front driver's seat and passenger seat before the incident occurred, and that they did reach, 67 miles an hour, almost 70 miles an hour, maybe 69 miles an hour. I had to read the specifics before they hit the manhole cover, curb, and the tree, and everything ignited. Then the men moved to the back seat to try and get their egress. I have a video on how to get out of every Tesla should the battery not work on the back doors. The front door's easy. Either pull the emergency latches, or if it's older, pull on the regular latches and then pull harder, and then the doors will pop, essentially. The other thing that we found out was the gentleman was many times over the legal limit for intoxication on alcohol, and he had another downer in his system. I believe it was a antihistamine. Yep, 2 sedating antihistamines. And they determined not only was Autopilot not involved in this crash, and not only did it not want to activate on that street because it wasn't allowed. I think we were talking AP1 at this time. I don't recall. It's been a long time since this crash. Further, the NTSB found out that the guy had never turned on Autopilot, ever in the life of the car.
Right.
So it had nothing to do with it. And constable speculation. I don't know where he got his information.
Well, we know where the rumor came from. It came from that officer that was on site that just knew the name Autopilot and went with it, and that was it. But it was interesting that the gentlemen were in the back seat because they were trying to get out of the car. Maybe the front doors were crumpled and unable to open, possibly.
Right.
Can't really tell from the photograph because there's nothing left.
Aluminum melts real easy.
Yeah, but that could have been part of the problem. And there was all sorts of rumors on this Texas crash in a neighborhood that people were running with. At least it's good to find out that with the records of the car and being able to research it, you can come out with the straight story after the fact. It's almost like Teslas have, an airline or black box in them that gives you the ability
every other car, but theirs is just huge
to reconstruct these things as time goes along. Like having that bit of data that he's never engaged Autopilot ever was interesting. That that's
who pays for it doesn't turn it on. That was weird.
Not good news as to what happened to the two gentlemen in the car. That's certainly a tragedy. But the intoxication level, the antihistamines, the excessive speeding in a community road certainly were not factors that were going to help anything in this situation. So
here's a picture of the scene, or at least not the scene, but where it happened, I should say. Derek asked what was the blood alcohol level, and I believe in most places in the States it should be 0.08 or lower, and he was at 0.151.
Right. Yeah. It says twice the legal limit in the article.
It says that, but I'm not sure if they're saying twice the Texas limit or twice the general limit. So that's why I wanted to point that part out.
Yep.
So here's where it happened. The house is around this area, and there's the crash. So like literally, the guy's camera saw most of it. And that part was true when the constable said that, but the rest of it seems that he just pulled it out of thin air. So he went up this way, and then this is the tree and the curb and everything that they hit that met their demise.
Yeah. So continuing our theme of doing PSAs, one, make sure you know how to get out of any vehicle if the battery dies. And
like that guy with the Corvette and the dog that almost met their demise until somebody found him.
Yeah, and this has been an issue even with non-Teslas. There have been vehicle faults, and someone's trapped in the car, and they don't know how to get out, and it's a hot day, and hasn't happened a lot, but make sure it doesn't happen to you.
Well, of course, it's happened to you.
Right? Yeah, even if you have to have one of those glass breakers in your kicker panel or whatever, have one in your glove box or somewhere.
And that was one of the ones that still just really gets under my skin. Was the older gentleman who crashed his Model X into like a median full of like medium-sized boulders, like decorative rocks that you could pick one up. Any non-disabled adult human could pick it up and then bash the window with it to get the guy out. And the cop left the guy in the bed of boulders and claimed that, I left my glass breakers tool. It wasn't on my utility belt today, so by the time I turned around,
any rock is called a glass breaker tool.
right. I mean, like, he was in a field of glass breaker tools. So because you didn't have the proper one, you let him burn to death.
Right. Yeah, and then so the second PSA is that anytime you see an article about Tesla, the media is doing it because it gets clicks. So if someone says something
that crashed into a building, Tesla crashes into a building, they had nothing to do with it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Because I guess more clicks than Polestar, and then they'll just we issued a retraction.
It says car now.
And
it doesn't say Polestar, it says car.
So
I noticed that, Derek.
I wonder if the if they've considered libel or slander or whichever it be for the person who said, obviously this was Autopilot because we didn't see anybody in the front seat. Okay, you weren't a witness. You were there after the fact.
Going to use that. What did he call the legal team? The high dollar, high fidelity ninjas?
Hardcore legal team.
Yeah, that he needs to actually unleash them on stuff like that. The constable.
Well, I'm sure that's going to cross their desks as time goes along here if these instances keep appearing. But with that said, Casey's got the next story as well. And this one is about a photo of a recent CyberTruck spotted on the road.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got that photo, or would you like me to bring it up?
I think I got it. Yeah. Let's share this one. Come on, computer. It's mad at me. I have too many tabs open. I closed a bunch of them, but it wasn't enough.
Apparently, I need to go get
you
a
need to
can
keep
of soda
closing.
to play the synchronized drinking game that's going on here.
Yes. Totally subliminal, I guess. So we saw pictures. Was it last week at the back of this thing, the newer CyberTruck pre-production unit, where we were talking about the mirrors and we were trying to figure out if the rear wheels were turning at all or not in that scene. Now we can see the updated front here. We've got some headlights peeking through the little crack between the body and the
Bumper
shell. And I'm hoping that they color match this radiator by the time it comes out, because that stands out. The article is focused on the wiper. The wiper lives on, and Musk basically told us this. He said it's probably not going anywhere, and doesn't look like it did. The other thing that came up recently was we saw this, what was it, last year or the year before, the magnetic wiper on a rail with the linear actuator.
Yeah.
That's making the rounds again as well. And I don't know if somebody just pulled it out and it started circulating again, or if there was a legitimate change to that patent, like another patent with more nuance or something. And while I think that would be cool to see that thing skirting across, part of the patent was that when it was done doing all of that, it would tuck the blade. And we've never seen a Cybertruck with a tucked blade. So I'm thinking this is just like the Mercedes with the one blade, but instead of kind of doing this weird cool thing in the middle, it's just going to come down from the side. They may surprise us, but so far I think that's how the prototypes work.
What do you guys think about that large wiper? Does it bother you? Like, you think it would bother you owning it?
I prefer it be on the passenger side unless it's out of view right there on the driver's side.
Yeah. It is rather large. I don't know what else they could do besides, break it up into two wipers.
Have
a traditional wiper type scenario, but I don't know. I think I'd have to see it in operation inside the vehicle to see if it's distracting. Because it's awfully thick and large. I don't know. Maybe it's just something I'm not used to today, and it would only take a few days for you to be used to it. Kind of like the center screen was such a jarring change in the beginning, and now it's just second nature.
Yeah.
Or just the appearance of the Cybertruck in general.
Right. Well, that's going to certainly turn some heads regardless. I was actually talking to my daughter today, and we were talking about the Cybertruck, and I was saying the world's going to look like a cyberpunk video game when this thing comes out. It's going to look so bizarre in public that there's a lot of people that just aren't going to believe it. Like, it's just going to be that kind of craziness where you turn your head and go, was that a UFO? What was that? It's bizarre.
The windshield wiper will be the last thing they notice.
Yes. Yeah.
So Derek's saying that to him the mirrors look larger. To me, it looks like they took those already large mirrors and cut them into triangles, like you might for a child with their sandwiches, and then just threw the other half away. And Hockey Day suggests that perhaps they should have two, one on each side.
That's too normal and boring. Come on, you got to do something different.
Normal and boring. When you look at the aspect ratio of that windshield, you could do it like the Civic and old GMs and everything with the two coming in like this, but that's going to double your wind resistance, and it's going to add a gear train that you got to synchronize, and I don't know that if they did any other way of having two of them, that it would kind of fit their philosophy of removing stuff from the truck. And also, again, because the windshield is so tall, you'd have to also get them in there to the point where they're out of the way of the driver when you're not using them, and that they can actually clear the viewing area. Because remember, you're sitting way further back than on a typical truck.
Well, and the other thing is that with a single wiper, you're not going to get as much of the window cleared on the far driver or passenger side, right? There's going to be a corner that's not, and there's always with wipers that are going on a half circle pattern, you're always missing stuff. Like, that's just the way it is. No, it's going to be interesting. Like Patrick said, I think the looks of it are going to throw most people off at the beginning. Nobody's going to even notice it has a wiper, most likely, until they're in it and it's raining. That's probably the only time you're ever going to notice the wiper.
Right. JT says go the Hummer or FJ Cruiser route and put 3 of them on there.
3 of them. That looks bizarre too.
That looks worse, actually, to me.
That definitely looks bizarre. Seen that up close.
Have 2 from the bottom and 1 from the top. Got to be different.
The important part is it covers the area that the driver can look through, and then it covers the autopilot cameras. And it looks like this one does that.
Got to keep those clear of rain.
Well, let's move on to some supercharger news. And what's happening lately is that Elon, of course, was summoned to Washington. He had a conversation with the upper brass, not Biden, but with some transportation people. And we speculate that they were pushing Elon about the supercharging network and whether or not he was going to be on board with supplying the ability for non-Tesla vehicles to charge at the superchargers, what his plan was. And of course, we don't know what was said in the meeting, but
he said, "Oh, now you know my name."
Yeah, I doubt he said that. I doubt he said that. He might have said that in his head.
Right.
But the next thing that came up was that transportation group that's controlling the budget of that $7.5 billion in charging infrastructure funds. They've indicated to Tesla that there's only a certain amount of time that they can act within, that they have to announce what their plan is going to do. What they're planning on doing for non-Teslas. And that announcement came this morning, where Tesla had indicated that they are now going to allow non-Teslas to charge at up to 7,500 superchargers throughout the United States, coast to coast. So these are stalls, not stations. So, but so there could be 2 or 3 stalls at one station. There could be 8 stalls at one location. But Tesla is pinpointing routes that will give non-Tesla vehicles the ability to travel interstate and across states to go in different directions, so that they're looking at their vast amount of chargers, and based on a couple of things such as distance from one to the other, as well as how often is that charger or station used, what's the amount of times that it's empty or full. They're looking at all these things, and they're going to come up with a number of chargers that can be used in those certain sites to put a network together for non-Tesla owners. They'll be using the most likely the Magic Dock, which we talked about a couple of shows ago, and of course the Tesla app, which they will be subscribed to, and the app will have their information and credit card account attached to. So this is great news if you don't own a Tesla and you're frustrated with certain other charger networks when you're trying to do longer journeys. This will give you another option, which can be highly valuable depending on the situation you're in. I don't know how many videos that I've seen through other YouTubers that are testing Electrify America and other charger abilities, and a lot of the times they're let down. They're not able to get the charge they need in a timely manner, or at all, depending on where they are. So I'm not saying that all networks are bad, but man, there seems to be an awful lot of trouble when it comes to non-Tesla chargers. Having Tesla in on this game, not only does Tesla get to get some of that $7.5 billion in funding to promote the supercharger network, push it out even further, add even more locations and stalls, but it gives the non-Tesla public the ability to experience what we all know, that it's a seamless thing to use because Tesla owns, operates, and maintains those chargers. And this will be a big plus, I believe, for Tesla, because people that are going there and charging up their vehicle, they're going to see nothing but other Teslas rolling in and rolling out quickly. And a lot of those people,
the app first.
A lot of those people in their head are going to be going, Man, my next car should be a Tesla. This is seamless for these guys. They're getting a whole bunch of benefit out of this system, even more than what I'm getting. And I think that's going to drive sales eventually. But
it wouldn't have been a thing had the other automakers got on board, because I'm sure they would have made concessions had they said, "Oh yeah, we'll help you out with a quarter of the cost of this thing," and then they would maybe take the logo off of the Superchargers or something. And now they're going to be stealing their lunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think it's a good move. Again, I see people in certain high volume states, California, Arizona, that are upset about this, that they're saying they're going to take our chargers away. And I really don't think that's going to happen. I think Tesla is going to look at the data that they own and collect, and they're going to make some intelligent decisions about, okay, how many stalls are we going to allow non-Tesla owners to charge at this particular station? Why don't we add another one across the street, or add on to an existing number of chargers, and in that addition, we'll add in 3 or 4 of the non-Tesla charging when we add 8 more stalls. Like, yeah. I can just see that type of thing happening.
So I have trouble keeping up with the number of North American superchargers, because it's ever increasing, and some of the stations do move. Not many, but some of them do move. So I asked Bing AI, I said, how many superchargers are in North America? How many stalls? Because the announcement said there were 7,500 going to this program, right? It came back that they were 10,000 at the end of January. So that is 75% of the stalls are going to be third-party enabled.
Is Bing AI correct?
Right, because AI
AI is not correct from the news stories I've been watching.
But either way, the point was that's a lot of stalls. We know that Tesla's going to have more by the time they actually get enough magic locks out to be 7,500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was getting at. It's a massive number, whether the 10,000 is accurate or not. And now I'm
it's not. They're going to install a dozen and say, oh, we have a network in place.
Exactly.
That'd be counterproductive.
So that's interesting news, and it'll be even more interesting news to see where that first Magic Dock goes into place. Is it going to be close to headquarters? Is it going to be in Hawthorne, which someone speculated at already based on some leaks that they saw in the system as they were testing out the app? We don't know. We had originally heard that it was supposed to be a site in Arizona, somewhere between Phoenix and Los Angeles.
They've probably been running it at Hawthorne, like maybe with like some sort of internal beta or something. Isn't that site the one they closed?
No,
it's no longer.
The one at Hawthorne headquarters they closed. Right. But there's another one they built across the street, which is available to anybody.
That's the one that was in the program previously. Okay. Yeah, I still think it's probably a beta test. So
I wouldn't think they don't have to certainly shut down a charger to test this. They've got chargers everywhere. They got them everywhere. They get tested anywhere. But it was interesting that they changed the app to show a certain address, which was across the street from headquarters or from the design studio, that is.
My Supercharger info is not loading, so I can't tell you what they say for North America. If anybody else sees it, type it in the chat.
The other thing that complements this really well is that late last year, Tesla announced that they are going to start integrating third-party charging into their vehicles. And so and there was a criteria, like they had to have a certain reliability. They have to be able to integrate billing with Tesla so that you get the same good user experience of it's going to be working and you can just plug in and charge and go. So I think that those two together is going to give more options also to Tesla drivers. And Mark, I think you touched on this. They're going to be smart about which ones they put into the program. It's going to be the ones that are underutilized. It's going to be the ones that allow certain corridors to work. It's not going to be the one that has big queues of Teslas waiting today. They're not going to put that in the program. They're going to use the money they're getting from the government to build one somewhere nearby and to both alleviate that and make these new stations available for people with non-Teslas.
Yeah, I think it's a plus. Again, I may be a bit jaded. I don't live in the San Francisco or Los Angeles area where it's most congested. But I know that we did a story last week about the cold weather up here in Southern Ontario and how that drew people into superchargers. So we do get them populated, but it's not as much. And this article talks a little bit about people that are driving in between states and how they don't see them utilized basically, as they're doing a trek across the country. Unless you're talking about a holiday where everyone's moving, like Thanksgiving, there really is not all that much congestion when it comes to it. And the great thing is, as mentioned already, is that Tesla has all this data, so they can track it. They can look at it. They can make intelligent decisions based on real life scenarios. So I welcome this. Look forward to it, and I think it's going to help Tesla in the end. So
definitely,
we shall see. We shall see. Next story. I want to talk a little bit about my favorite Gigafactory, Berlin. I don't know what the Germans are doing, guys. I really don't. It seems that they start to take a couple steps forward. It seems that things are starting to roll on, and then someone pulls out a gun and shoots their left foot. Like, it's just ridiculous. This story talks about how Tesla is moving along with the continued construction of Gigafactory Berlin, and how they were putting in a massive solar array for the parking lot. So they had started to tack down sticks where the pilings were going to go to hold up the structure for the solar panels that were going to drape over the parking spaces. And quickly, the Citizens Group for Cardboard Forests, or Ants Holding Hands, saw that there's a serious problem, water table problem, where they realized that Tesla was actually digging 1 meter holes in the ground of the property that they own and operate.
Well, parking lots are delicate natural environments we have to protect.
Well, they're wetlands, right? Parking lots are wetlands, are they not? But so they're digging holes to place pylons to pour concrete so they could put these steel beams in place and make the truss for the actual solar array. And they had an injunction filed,
gas crisis,
and they had to stop. And
Germany.
And now they're going through it. And the people from the water table, they're complaining that they didn't know this was going to happen, and Tesla didn't get approval to dig on the parking lot area. And even though the master plan showed that there was going to be solar panels there, I guess they felt that they were going to be held up by sky hooks or something. But somebody's wires got crossed as to what they thought they were doing or how they were planning on doing it, and the construction had to stop. Man, it's amazing.
They get a lot of their power from that natural gas, methane. And right now they're having a methane shortage because of geopolitics in their region, and you're going to stop a major project that will relieve a lot of your need for that methane.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense. Genius level move.
And Tesla's still moving on putting panels on the roof at Gigafactory Berlin as well. Yeah. But this was another patch of land that they owned that was not going to be environmentally sensitive because it's a parking lot. All you're doing is you're putting shade over the cars that are there and collecting the extra energy that's coming from that big fusion ball in the sky. So I don't get it. Like, it's like I said, they're shooting themselves in the foot. This is environmentalism, I think, on a runaway level. I understand that there has to be things to stop corporations from doing the wrong thing.
Right.
But digging pilings 3 feet down or 1 meter down to put concrete in to hold up a structure that's going to help power the plant, and, as Casey mentioned, divert some energy from other sources that are in short supply today. Man, you're crazy. You should have let that go through immediately.
It's like those two classic songs talk about. They paved a parking lot to put up a awning.
Exactly. So that is the news from Germany. Which
also let's mention this. This is also the company and the factory that built the #1 selling car in Germany for the last couple of months. So they're German. Is that how you treat your people?
It is bizarre. There's an actual photo of it. So that was, I guess as it stopped. But there you can even see some pilings are in place. So they got a whole row.
You got to take them up, and you got to
yeah, you got to take them all out, and someone's got to examine them and make
find
sure
some nearly extinct bushes to put down, and hope that the cars don't poison it.
It's a bad situation, man. It is just a bad situation.
Yeah, nearly every parking lot should have solar canopies, and nearly every roof should have solar panels.
Yeah.
It's just it's space that we already have. You don't have to do something. You don't have to dam a river. You don't have to do anything else. It's already got structures there. Let's just use it better. And I like the way you phrased that, Mark. Collect the energy from the giant fusion ball in the sky.
Yeah, and if your complaint is that, oh, well, what about the duct curve? All right, well, how about next to the electrical equipment that the electric company's already got on site, put a big old battery like a Mega Pack or something else. Yeah,
exactly.
For Tesla knows how to make those.
Yeah, and we were always talking about how we want to dual purpose everything, right? So why not dual purpose every parking lot? Everybody would appreciate the less damage to their car and the cool, walk out to the car
in the shade.
And then you've got like you said, on the buildings, nobody wants to see a corporate roof, so why not put it up there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next story to touch upon is this photo, which probably hurts your eyes. Ha ha ha.
Ouch.
But this, of course, is the B pillar of a Model 3 or Model Y, not sure which. But you're kind of wondering, gee, my Model 3 or Y doesn't look like that on the B pillar. And that, of course, is because your car is not being rented by HERTZ. HERTZ, of course, provides a renter of these cars the key card, the plastic key card that Tesla gives out with their vehicles. And no, that's not the damage that the key card does to a B pillar. This is the damage that happens when you place that key card into a solid, clear plastic holder that the key card cannot leave
because the waterproof card needs protection.
Yeah.
I think just making it bigger makes it less likely to get lost.
Right. It makes it harder to put in your pocket. Makes it harder for you to forget it somewhere. Of course, on this car, it looks like the thing probably weighs about 5 pounds to make that kind of damage. But
I'm hoping it's the ring that is attached to the top of the thing, and not that the plastic is harder than the glass.
So, of course, the plastic is this clear plastic holder that HERTZ encases the key card in is obviously scratching up the B pillar dramatically. We saw maybe 4 shows ago, we saw somebody's pictures of the rims of these cars after they've been rented a few times. This is just adding to the wonderful secondhand value that these cars are going to have once HERTZ moves them off of their lot and sells them.
The beauty is that this B pillar is like anywhere from $40 to $200, depending on who you ask, and it installs in like 45 seconds. So.
Well, that's good. Hopefully they replace it when they sell them.
Yeah. Well, we can't say that about the rims, though, can we?
No. And so with the rims, it's going to look like a not say typical, but not uncommon Tesla wheel rash, but times however many wrenches the darn thing is at.
Yeah.
Some folks on the tweet that I found that on suggested that hopefully there was a thin plastic like shipping film that just never got removed somehow, and I'm hoping that's the case, because if that glass is softer than the polycarbonate case, that's not good. And if people are scraping the ring on the glass, the key ring, then they're just extra stupid. And it makes me wonder on the camera, the diagram on the card and the instructions that HERTZ tell you to put it below the camera. That's where the sensor is.
Right. I was just thinking, I wonder if they need to apply a little vinyl sticker there to the outline of the card so that they know right where to tap it without scratching up the part where the camera needs to see out.
So get a little vinyl sticker with the rounded that matches the card and say right card, because if you just put the circle, people are going to either peel it off or not know, I thought I was supposed to avoid that area. But if it says card here.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, there's that's a great point, Patrick. Having that, although the key card is not scratching it up on our cars, but maybe it shouldn't be placed there. Maybe it should be lower on the B pillar, or some other place that's convenient. But this, of course, has not come to light until now. So here we are, how many years into the Model 3 release, and this is the first we've seen of this type of damage.
And that includes people on Turo and previous rentals like through HERTZ and Enterprise and everybody who used to rent out Teslas before HERTZ bought 500,000 of them.
Yep.
Here's how I get in there. Tap.
Yep. Still waterproof and weatherproof.
Yeah, and like it's obviously not weatherproofing the key card. It's for people that aren't going to lose it, or make it inconvenient for them to not know where it is. So
but you're already going to charge them $100 for the up to $24 card, so that's on them if they lose it or keep it.
It always amazed me when I was renting a regular car for business that you would have this. You get both keys, you get both fobs, you get these plastic rings on it, and the whole keychain weighed about 3 pounds in your hand. It was like that's excessive, but it's
Are they
there.
encouraging you to lose one?
Yeah,
right.
It's like when you lose it, you're going to lose everything. The secondary key, all the fobs, you're losing the whole
$1,000 in keys.
So we can charge you $10,000 for all the pain and suffering we have to go through to replace it all.
Meanwhile, Mary Led is over there telling us not to put 19 pounds of stuff on our keychain so that people don't crash.
Oh.
She got inducted into the Automotive Hall of Fame for apparently that and a few other things.
Next,
is it Hall of Shame or Hall of Fame?
Hall of Fame. And I was all against it until I realized that they had some like radio jockeys on there in the Automotive Hall of Fame. I'm like, well, she clearly did more than some of the AM radio folks, so I'll let her have it.
I would say so.
But not click and clack. They saved many a Subaru. I don't know if they're in it or not.
Oh, they should
Next,
be.
Moving on to the big game, which of course happened this past weekend. We've got the TeslaSemi that showed up at the Super Bowl.
Didn't see it.
And no indication as to whether it won the game or not. I did not see it on the field, but it was there in a promotional capacity. It was actually in some of the displays that blanketed the downtown core of Glendale, Arizona. It was on one of the downtown streets where they were giving out Fritos and Pepsi and whatever else to the crowd. So they had it there set up as a display with Chester Cheeto on the back of the 53-foot trailer and the TeslaSemi up front pulling it. So that was kind of interesting. I had a shout out to anyone in our group that had seen it, but we didn't get any photos in. So nobody from this group had actually taken a photo.
Their litigious nature at that organization.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And of course, also at the Super Bowl, there was a number of photos that Elon got himself on television during the game. He was in a private box, and he showed up on the screen for a little while, as well as many other celebrities that were at the Super Bowl. No surprise there, but it's interesting that that Tesla, of course, did not spend any money on advertising, as they typically don't. But in one of the ads, particularly for Popeye's Chicken, they had a Model Y in a prominent position during that ad. So Tesla got airtime regardless as to whether or not they advertise or not. It's just at this point, it's just part of popular culture, and other companies are happy to advertise Tesla for them. It seems, and we've seen this before in past Super Bowls. We've even seen the uptick of orders during a Super Bowl because people look at the ads of electric cars that are being shown on the screen, and they quickly go to a website or two to say, "Well, when can I get this? When is it? Oh, it's not available. It won't be available until the end of 2023 or 2024." And they end up saying, "Well, what is available? Oh, the Model Y is available. Yeah, I think I'll order that." So
Have it by Tuesday.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so it's
Every
it's,
EV adds a validation that Tesla was doing the right thing and is the future.
Yeah. So back to the Semi though. What could you possibly do with several megawatt hours, several rolling megapacks for these displays? Like you wouldn't even need to bring a generator or anything for your display because
Mm-hmm.
it clearly doesn't weigh max load. Just plug into whatever aux port they give you, and now you're running your whole parade giveaway of Pepsi and Cheetos or whatever.
yeah, absolutely. You could definitely power an exhibition booth, no problem. If you had the export plugs available to you, absolutely, it could be a week. No issue there at all. You charge up one of those things full charge. I wouldn't be surprised if it could run an exhibition for a month. It would not surprise me at all.
Now that's taking tailgating to the next level when you pull up with a Semi with snacks and drinks and
Entertainment. Well, like people
lights and a DJ.
The video screens roll out. Yeah,
Nice.
the whole deal.
There was one other ad that prominently featured Teslas that was broadcast in certain regions.
Oh, that guy.
And that was from the Dawn Project.
Ah, yes, the Dawn Project.
Yes.
The gentleman that's trying to stop full self-driving because he's got a competing product that he'd like you to buy that instead.
But that has nothing to do with what he's just doing this out of the kindness of his heart. Yes.
That's right.
He wants to save lives by making it easier for people to accidentally get killed. He wants to bring about a certain kind. He doesn't want to bring about a certain kind of future.
No, he doesn't. No, I'm not even going to go. I'll save that one for a better transition.
he wouldn't care as long as it lines his pockets. That's what's going on here. And it's a sad state of affairs where he posts a commercial, which is fraudulent. He's got somebody in the car that is purposely avoiding and ignoring alerts that are being told to the driver and trying to make it appear that the car is acting in a dangerous manner when all it is a driver ignoring the alerts and prompts that he's getting from the car.
And he continues to have like potato cam quality interior shots trying to hide the messages on the screen.
Exactly.
Being called out on it. Like he made like another 4 videos after being called out on the first scam campaign. And
well, and Tesla's made no claims that this is a level 4 or 5 system.
That too. And he also
requires an attentive driver behind the wheel. So if you hit something, it's on you, whether or not you were letting the car drive at that time or not. So you have to pay attention, and the brake still works. The steering wheel still works. You can dodge things. You can stop. So to say, oh, they're unsafe. And then he particularly picked like the Washington, D.C. region and a few select regions to try to make a political point or to try to get not anyway. It was just, it's ridiculous.
Well, he's aiming at regulators, right? He's aiming at regulators that could shut down the service is what he's doing.
Yeah. Yes.
He's pushing at politicians
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's
he also, in all of these, he always fails to mention that it's FSD beta. And of course, obviously, he's not going to mention that his people are fraudulently using the system, like keeping your foot on the accelerator. And like one of the examples he throws out is about how it tried to pass the school bus. Yeah, mine tries to pass the school buses too. But you know what I do? I either turn it off or I push the brake because I don't want a ticket and I don't want to hit a small child with my car.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a police vehicle coming up behind me last night when I was going to pick up dinner. And I was in FSD beta mode and it didn't seem to be responding to the car. So I pulled over manually by myself. You can still do that. Wow. That's why I have a driver's license.
I just wonder how many politicians won't even think for themselves or investigate it any further. Where they'll just take in the information and go, this is gospel, and move based on them believing that this is the truth. And that's of course where ads, that's what they're for, is to push people in a direction you want them to go.
Yeah,
right.
So on my show, I tend to show like as they become available, all these different crash tests, and one of the ones that I like is the European ones where they evaluate the autonomy systems on all these cars. Tesla got rave marks all the time, and one of the cars that we were sure has the Green Hill software, the company that Mr. O'Dowd runs. It managed to hit both the pedestrian child that popped out of on the side of the road and the bicyclist, whereas all the others that hit something only hit one of those. And Tesla had a really close call, but it didn't hit any of them.
Wow. Yeah, something about a glass house throwing, I don't know, something.
Something like that. Exactly. Okay, next, Patrick's got a story about Netflix. What's going on there?
That is right. Yes. So if you followed Netflix in the past, they've had a pretty lackadaisical policy on password sharing. And in fact, some people argue that was very intentional because people who end up sharing passwords kind of use it as a trial and then end up getting their own at some point because whatever relationship your ex broke up and now whatever. So, but recently, Netflix they've finally had some quarters where profitability was a little more challenging, and so they're cracking down on password sharing. So they have a policy that says that a device has to be on your designated home Wi-Fi at least every 31 days. Well, if you have Netflix in your Tesla and you're logging into that, depending on where you park, you might not be within range of your home Wi-Fi to be able to connect to it.
In North America, it goes through the Tesla VPN out of, assuming, California.
Oh, so then even if you were on the Wi-Fi, it's tunneling through a VPN, so it doesn't look like it's on your Wi-Fi.
That's why it still sucks on your Wi-Fi.
Okay. Yeah. So how's that going to work? Is your Tesla going to get kicked off? Well, no. Netflix has said that this policy does not apply to Tesla vehicles.
You probably whitelisted
although
the exit node.
There are some people that have been having some other problems with it. If you have it at a system at a vacation home or whatever, you're not really sharing with anybody else. But so they're having some backlash with this new policy, but not for Tesla drivers. There you go. That's the short version of the story.
Also, they haven't implemented it yet in U.S. or Canada. It looks like Canada's going to get it first. It was tested in a South American country and one other place, and they accidentally posted it to their website, the new policy.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Accidentally. Trial balloon.
They wanted a balloon. They wanted to see how bad the reaction would. Oh, the balloon. How bad the reaction would be to the news.
Is that one of those balloons that have been flying through Canada's north? We've been curious about that. We're shooting down Netflix balloons, aren't we?
I had no idea Netflix was behind all this.
They're going to be upset that a few of their test trial balloons are not coming home. But thanks, Patrick. Next, Casey's going to do a little story about TeslaSemi and its operational video that just came out from, what is it, MSNBC?
MSNBC, yeah. So I just got that one to load during the show, so I haven't seen it yet. I skimmed through it. It appears to have footage from the expo that Pepsi did, showing off their Green Day, where they were talking about the TeslaSemi, the grants they received, their solar, their other EVs, and then they did a show and tell with Motor Trend and a couple other places like MSNBC on the TeslaSemi, and we learned some pretty cool stuff. I noticed that one of the comments was complaining that the video didn't interview the drivers, and I don't know if Pepsi's under an NDA or if they're just very much like Tesla, where you can't talk to their employees.
Yeah, they didn't approve the ability for drivers to speak to the media directly.
Right, and it's been pretty interesting. And then we also saw some video from the drone army. It was somebody driving their car. They went through Giga Nevada and found another 20 or so TeslaSemis that appear to be ready for final inspection and delivery, or internal work with Tesla as like hauling batteries around or something. And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, they were saying that for the FritoLay location in Modesto, that they've got them on full routes, up to 400 miles routes that they're moving. Now, okay, again, these are chips that these things are moving. They're not heavy vehicles. But, of course, we're in a testing phase here. And we've said this many times. They're collecting the data. They're looking at what is actually happening. We've seen the test that Tesla has shown at the beginning when they had the delivery event, where they were pulling full size, full weight loads. But for Pepsi, especially on the Frito-Lay side, they can do a lot of mileage because they're basically hauling bags of air. But when it gets to Pepsi's another thing. They're hauling extra heavy load because they're hauling basically water in cans. So those are two wildly different loads that this company is pulling, and that's going to be valuable information for Tesla. And they said in the video with the VP of operations for PepsiCo, he was saying that's one of the things that Tesla wanted to sign up with Pepsi and start them on it first, so they could collect this valuable real world data where they had both sides of the spectrum, where they could see heavy loads, light loads. They could see what's going to happen in California, how it's going to be used, what the problems they may come up with, what would the solutions be. So all this is being worked out. Tesla has entered a brand new market for them. Yes, it is a mobile market. Yes, it is transportation, but the trucking industry is completely different than commercial cars going out just to regular citizens. So it's something that they're going to have to learn a lot about in order to maximize their investment they've made with the new factory and hopefully pumping out 50,000 units a year once they get scaled up. So they've got a lot to learn, and Pepsi's going to help them start to learn the ropes.
And for the folks that say, oh, well, the fact they don't take the Pepsi on the full routes means they can't handle it on the Pepsi. It does not mean that. They plan to extend the routes with the Pepsi, but right now, the way their distribution network is set up, they don't need to go more than 250 miles with the bottles of Pepsi because they have so many bottling plants and so many endpoints that is all they need.
Yeah, the distribution points are much more closer together. So that's very interesting. Another story we're going to just touch upon this week is it just came out today, was that a hardware 4 computer was taken apart by Green the Only, who happened to get a hold of a hardware 4 an actual motherboard that was in use in a Model X, apparently. Took the box apart and found out a few things. One of the things being that the daughter board that's usually on the motherboard is removed in this. They've condensed the chips or the required computer processing power and just put it on the main board. So it's made the package thinner and lighter. And of course, less board means less cost. The other thing that he found interesting is they had 12 video ports on this new board. One of them was labeled as a spare, and the others were actually labeled where some of them said front and back bumpers. So there could be cameras coming to the bumpers on our vehicles. And as Patrick rejoiced before the beginning of the show, stating that, hey, that might give us 360 view at some point.
Yeah. The bird's eye,
the bird's eye view, right?
Yeah.
A lot of other vehicles have that, and Tesla is lacking.
Yeah, they are. I'll say that the rear bumper was not a blind spot on the old system, or even the original Model 3, Model S's. But the front bumper has always been a blind spot to the car.
And now that the ultrasonic sensors have been removed or are being removed, if you have cameras there, maybe they can take care of that a lot better.
Although they're still going to have to come up with another solution because we've got all those cars without ultrasonic sensors now.
This is true.
That are not going to get a camera. So they've got to come up with some sort of solution. It can't be, hey, just buy a new car.
The headlights are on CAN bus, so hopefully they have enough bandwidth that maybe they could get some kind of sensor in the headlight. Although that is expensive. The headlights, I think, are like $600 free everything changing around situation. They certainly were on my Prius, and they were on my Model S.
My Model 3 headlight up here is $1,300.
Wow.
From Tesla.
Yeah, I believe it. Like I said, that was a xenon bulb in both the Prius and the Model S, my Model S. And that was years ago for both cases. So I could see the inflation.
I've also heard from another person that shopped headlights for a BMW i3. over $2,000 for one
I can see that
headlight.
for a BMW.
Whoa.
So
That's
headlights
not
aren't
the
cheap.
solution.
Nope.
You're
Headlights
gonna have
are
to do
not
something.
cheap.
Otherwise, it's not fully self-driving autonomous taxi. They're gonna have to give us back some money if they do that. Like, don't make it better. We'll see.
Other thing that was on this was a little bit about a Phoenix radar, which I don't know what that is, except a more advanced radar than what was previously on the car. So Tesla could be playing with the radar game a little bit again. Remember, they took it away because they felt that it was unreliable when it came to Autopilot, that they were getting positive and negative responses. And of course, the vehicle had to take the lowest common denominator, and that may not have been correct, even though that was the right way to take, because you were getting a negative response, which required you to act. But maybe with a newer radar, a more advanced radar, there could be some benefits to it. Obviously, there must be. Why on else would they put it on the board? So
and so that was one of the cool things they showed us with some of the tests we covered on previous shows, where they showed us the response time to the old Continental radar and just pure vision, and the pure vision just blew it away. And Elon tweeted several times that, hey, we'll look at radar again if we can get a HD radar, like a super ultra high def view. And so maybe this is that, or maybe they don't know what they're doing and they put it back in the newer version.
So that's kind of interesting. That just happened today, that we got that notification through our Twitter feed, which of course you can follow and keep up to speed throughout the week. At the Tesla Life is the Twitter feed. You can also follow us on Facebook, which of course is the Tesla Life #1. Follow us there as well. We thank Patrick for keeping that Facebook page up and running. We thank Casey for our live presentations that we're putting on every week right here on YouTube. And we thank you for watching this week. Appreciate you being there and helping us out. Press that thumbs up, gives us a great hand, doesn't cost you anything. And press that subscribe if you haven't done it already. Again, helps us out, doesn't cost you anything. With that, let's wrap it up, boys. Casey, any shout outs this week?
I mentioned I do a show on Sundays. It's a little more general. It's not just Tesla. Over at youtube.com @KCGreen. And find out what else is going on. I do Tesla stuff because what happens is really cool is I'll stop my show and Tesla will put out a bunch of stuff. Mark will stop this show and then Tesla puts out a bunch of stuff. So
it never stops.
It never stops. It keeps us balanced.
Never stops.
Also, I wanted to shout out to the people in the chat. We've got Volcano Girl, Amy, Hockey Day, Zachary, Derek, JT24, and
Silver Z.
Thank you for your time.
Very good. Very good. Patrick, any shout outs as we're leaving?
Yes. So I blog at carswithcords.net, my journey towards a future free from fossil fuels. And as always, I'm with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. Thanks a lot.
Very good. Thank you very much, everyone out there. Have yourselves a great week and join us next week. We'll get together again and find out what's happening in the Tesla life.
Thanks, Lee Moon. Stay positive, test negative.